Hi, my name is Chi Okezie, and I am owner and producer of Simple Networking, which is a women-owned small business based in Metro Atlanta, which I do consulting, training, different types of events on networking, diversity and inclusion, as well as cultural awareness. My company is based in Metro Atlanta, Georgia, United States, and I'm very excited to be a part of this admin chat. Today I will be talking about networking etiquette, key tactics for professional protocol. In the past, I have done admin chat for diversity and inclusion, as well as being your own stylist. So I'm very excited to be able to expand on my service offerings and knowledge and expertise to the admin community. I also contribute on a regular basis to articles on Executive Secretary magazine. So my latest one is how to launch an admin network. So that should be very exciting. I definitely encourage you to visit the website, or if you have the magazine, to read it and let me know your thoughts for sure. Once again, my name is Chi Okezie, Okezie, and I'm excited to present this admin chat on networking etiquette. So I got an opportunity to look up the word etiquette, and etiquette on the online database says the customary code of polite behavior in society or among members of a particular profession or group, i.e. protocol, good manners. And a lot of times when we think of etiquette, we even think about it in regards to eating, such as table etiquette, formal etiquette, in golf, which is great for business and networking and leisure. There's an etiquette in how you play golf, how you interact with your partners and your different teams and things of that nature, even down to the way that you dress and the different types of equipment and clubs that you use. So etiquette is definitely a part of our society and the way that we function and interact with people. And I think a lot of times professionals, admin professionals, executive assistants, understand etiquette, yes, but there's also etiquette when it comes to networking that some people and some professionals may not be aware of or used to. Etiquette, like I said, goes a long way in regards to verbal communication, nonverbal communication, the way that you interact with people, the way that you respond, and even the way that you dress and present yourself. So once again, I'm really excited to present this admin chat on networking etiquette. So let's go ahead and get started. So in this slide, I have a quote at the top that says, "You never get a second chance to make a first impression." And this is absolutely correct. First impressions can be lasting impressions, and you can always build on it. But I will say this much: once you have a not so good or bad first impression, it's very difficult to alleviate that. So you want to make sure that you're doing it right the first time. And I have a statistic here. A Harvard study, and Harvard is a university here in the United States, top university referred to as Ivy League. A Harvard study reported in Forbes, which is a very popular business magazine, revealed one's success is based 85% on social skills and 15% on technical skills. And I sometimes feel like we have that switched around, where we spend a lot of time focusing on our technical skills, how we're able to operate, do our physical work properly and efficiently in a timely manner, in a very efficient manner as well, and cost-effective manner, as opposed to focusing on our social skills, the way that we interact with people, as I said before, the way that we present ourselves. So it's really interesting to see this type of dynamic, and hopefully we'll be able to gain a lot of insight through this webinar and through this training about how we can improve our social skills and be able to really leverage that for career advancement and also just even a better work environment. Okay, so here I have in this slide benefits of networking etiquette. I thought it would be great for us to start on a clean slate where we're all in one focus and also that we are like-minded and going in the same direction. So And the number one benefit is that it adds value and respect to your networks. You definitely want to be respectful because it makes it a lot easier to interact, to work with, to collaborate with other people, whether it's your coworkers, whether it's your affiliates, your partners, whomever that may be. Second, it offers a good first and lasting impression, as I mentioned earlier. It's very, very difficult to erase a bad impression. So you definitely want to start off right the first time. Also, it shows professionalism and courtesy. I think professionalism is the biggest piece when it comes to networking, in the type sense that, yes, you have different abilities, you have different skills, you have different experiences, but being able to be professional and wrap that all up in one package takes skill, and it also takes etiquette. Also, another benefit of networking etiquette is that it elevates your personal brand and it elevates your personal brand and executive presence. And this is something that I definitely want to dive deeper into when it comes to being able to advance in your career, being able to be known as an expert and being respected among your colleagues. And that goes a lot with having a strong personal brand and being able to have a very strong and recognizable executive presence. And so here we have our simple networking Fantastic Four. So these are actually 4 ways that we can target and be able to create better networking etiquettes for our advancement in our careers, like I said, in our businesses, and even in our working cultures. So here they are, play-on-play words. So they all start with R-E-S. We have number 1 is research. Number 2 is respect. Number 3 is respond, and number 4 is resemble. And so we're going to dive into each of these 4 aspects as to how we can improve our networking etiquette, build our personal brand, be able to exert our executive presence, and really be of value and also respect others. Right? So the first tip, or simple networking Fantastic Four, is research the proper skills. So seek advice from individuals in your network. I think that's the first thing. Just go to where you are not necessarily comfortable with, but people that you can reach out to, that you have accessibility to, and ask them about different forms of etiquette. Or even if you're attending an event for a particular organization in a particular city or particular country, just even asking, what is the type of etiquette for this country or this particular industry, this type of event, or the people that I'm going to be interacting with. The other thing is to commit to being a lifelong learner. And I think everyone who's watching this particular this series of admin chats definitely values and invests in their professional and personal development. But it's also important to understand that we don't know everything and that we should always be constantly learning something new every day. Another thing is to consider professional development and training, which of course you are doing now by being on this admin chat. Professional development and training is extremely important, and it also does depend on which type of industry you're in, but I still feel like in order to sharpen your skills, to be more competitive, and to stay abreast about what things are going on within your industry or your organization or your company, you have to be consistently developing your skills and training and definitely learning. We know this, and of course this is more prominent in other industries where laws and different types of protocol and policies are constantly changing, or marketing and trends are not necessarily stable. But in your case, or in the case of working professionals in different ranges of industry, it's still important to have that mindset. The other thing is to utilize social media to gain useful info. So to me, I feel like social media sometimes is a double-edged sword. It's great for, of course, sending out information and bringing awareness to certain causes, certain events, and promotions and different types of advertising. But at the same time, it can be a vehicle to do damage. We've seen this many times. But in this case, I'm suggesting that you use social media as a form of gaining knowledge, gaining understanding, correct ways of doing things, proper ways of doing things that are relevant and that are up to date. Okay, so once again, the first of the Fantastic Four is research, where I really implore you to research the proper skills. Okay. The next piece to our Fantastic Four is respect. Respect protocol and commonalities. So become familiar with various cultures and norms. And this is something that we talked about in the previous slide, where you're asking or inquiring from people or individuals within your networks about doing research on certain types of events and cultures and norms. And this is pretty much the same thing. You can't always assume that people do things the same way that you do, because what is normal to you may not be normal to someone else. And even if you live in the same community and you live in the same country or the same city, you still might have variations of culture when it comes to industry, when it comes to companies and organizations. So it's something that you have to be sensitive to and be aware of. The other thing is acknowledge and adhere to rules and policies. It's really important to follow the guidelines. That's a part of the courtesy. That is the part of the respect. As I mentioned before, different cultures, different norms. What is normal to you may not necessarily be normal to someone else. What is normal to someone else may not be necessarily normal to you. And you have to keep that in mind and really be in that sphere of being open-minded and understanding towards different things. The next is to follow through by keeping your word and your commitment. So you don't just want to do networking etiquette, but you also want to be networking etiquette in the type sense that it's extremely important in terms of building your credibility, building your professionalism and trust among your colleagues when you're able to align your words with your actions. And last but not least, you want to build relationships through trust and understanding. And I definitely want to focus on understanding in the type sense that, once again, as I mentioned before, and I think I'll keep saying this throughout the admin chat, is that the way that you do things and how you're comfortable in certain situations may not necessarily be the same as with another person, another colleague, another affiliate, especially when it comes to networking. There are different types of protocols, as we'll go through, that are different depending on the area that you're located in, the industry that you're in. So you really have to be very observant, especially when you're going to events, when you're having meetings with different people and different companies, and also being able to build your understanding, being open-minded, asking good questions, and listening and paying attention. Okay, so once again, the second piece of our Fantastic Four is respect, to respect protocol and commonalities. Okay, the next piece is to respond appropriately to situations. So be observant and be mindful, as I had mentioned before. So a lot of these tips kind of overlap on each other, but still very relevant. And I'm glad that I'm able to reinforce each of their importance and essential pieces to networking and etiquette. Being observant, and sometimes it's great to just sit back and listen. Listening is actually a form of communication. And the more that you listen, the more that you are mindful, the more that you are aware, and that you're able to make good decisions, be able to respond properly in different types of situations, whether you're familiar with those type of situations, familiar with those type of people, or even familiar with that type of protocol. And also, do not assume, ask questions. And I especially want to focus on the piece of not assuming, because once again, we can get very comfortable in our positions, in our titles, in our workplaces, and not realize how things are changing around us or how things are different around us. So you can't always assume that things are the way you perceive them to be. So asking questions, and it's very sensitive piece of asking questions, because there is a difference between interview and interrogate. So you want to be very respectful even in the way that you ask questions and also how you receive these responses. Another thing is to be discerning and use good judgment. And it kind of goes back to the first point about being observant and being mindful. When you're observant, when you're mindful, you are definitely in a mode of thinking and being able to use good judgment, being able to be discerning in certain situations, especially that are sensitive or can be volatile. You as executive assistants and administrative professionals want to be able to create safe space. You want to be able to foster trust and be responsible in those particular areas. And part of that is being discerning and having good judgments. And also align your actions with your words, which is something that we had mentioned before, but still holds true, especially when it comes to commitments, when it comes to deadlines. And I know that many times we say one thing and we realize, oh my gosh, this is not exactly what I had in mind, or there's a turn, there's a curve. It's still a great way to build your communication. It's a great way to open up the doors for communication and express any type of concerns, but still aligning your words with your actions. So the third piece, as I mentioned before, is to respond and respond appropriately to situations. And then our last piece for the networking etiquette is resemble. Resemble a person of noble character. I think this is probably one of my favorite bullet points out of the whole series. Build your credibility and likability. This is something that you should do on a regular basis and make it a part of your character and how you want people to recognize and respect you. Credibility goes a long way. And it's not just necessarily how long you've been in the business, how long you've been with your particular boss or CEO, but it's also how you treat other people, along with the likability piece. Other thing is to be ethical and display integrity. This is such a crucial piece. And I think if we were all to sit back and think of people that we admire, whether it's close friends, family members, famous people, we will have a similarity that these particular people that we admire have some form or high form of ethics and integrity. And ethics and integrity goes a lot further than just doing what's right. As I mentioned before, respecting other people, showing courtesy, aligning your words with your actions, and as well as other different types of things to support, to encourage, and advocate for others. And also, find value and purpose in your objectives. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, the goals that you may have, definitely write down your goals and then move towards them. And I think that is also another characteristic of people of noble character that have goals, that set out to do things, to make positive change, whether it's for themselves, for their communities, or for a particular cause, but they do find value and purpose in their objectives and what they're doing, and also bringing people along, creating teams, creating networks. And that's also the same way as you're starting to build your network. Networking is not necessarily just going to networking events, but it really is about building your networks, the people that you surround yourself with, the people that you communicate with that can help you move to the next level, and also that you can help move to the next level. And so having objectives, having your purpose, and being able to exemplify that is extremely important. And then last but not least, remain genuine in your relationship building, which is, how do I say this? It's almost like you don't need to say it, but you have to say it. We want to be transparent. We want to be honest. We want to show that we can be trusted, and that we respect and want to be respected. And building relationships, of course, is the essence of networking. It's not about necessarily finding a lead, getting a referral, and connecting with someone, but really getting to understand other people, understand your industry, building your communication skills, learning different other types of skills that will make you competitive, that will make you the best at who you are in your position, whether you choose to stay in that position and advance. And then also from the aspect when it comes to relationship building, being a mentor or being mentored, having a sponsor or sponsoring someone, and then coaching or being coached. These are all forms of relationship building that are very significant when it comes to the realm of networking. Okay. So now I'd like to talk about just some quick tips on networking etiquette. In the past few slides, we did talk about research. We talked about respect, responding to situations appropriately, and resembling a person of noble character. So we want to put this all together and be able to make it practical so that you can use it in your workspace. You can use it on a daily basis. You can use it when you're traveling for meetings and different types of events and functions. So first and foremost, you have to be prepared. It's not enough to just show up. You have to have whatever it is, whether you're conducting a meeting, whether you're assisting, whether you're attending a networking event, be prepared, whether it means getting your slides in order, making sure that you have all of your business cards, practicing your 30-second elevator pitch, or even just brushing up on your networking etiquette protocol, making sure that you are talking in clear and concise sentences. If someone were to ask you a question, you have a very definitive or very professional answer that you're able to just follow up in a timely manner, have a firm handshake, and be able to listen. And these are things that you are able to fine tune actually before you get to the event. Other thing is to arrive on time. I don't think I can stress this enough. Being on time or being early has a very extreme advantage, especially when it comes to networking. First and foremost, it gives you an opportunity to, whether you're at a conference, if you're at a lecture, or even an event space, you're able to, find parking quickly, or you're able to go through security quickly and be able to, talk to people before the event gets overcrowded or before the program starts. And this is precious time where you're meeting people, learning and building relationships. And once again, enhancing your enhancing your first impression. And what I had mentioned before, having a firm handshake and making eye contact. There was an article that I read a few years ago from Allure magazine. I think Allure has different international issues, but I did read the one for the United States. And they talked about an interview that they did where they interviewed men and women for a particular position, and the interviewer found that, or sensed that, the men and women who had a firm handshake and made eye contact were more likely to gain the position even before the actual interview started. And that goes back to what I mentioned about the executive presence and being professional. That is also another form of networking etiquette. Being able to have a firm handshake and make eye contact really exemplifies confidence, and it exemplifies credibility. The other thing is to make a proper intro, whether you're introducing yourself or someone else. As I mentioned before, with being prepared, it's always great to practice your 30-second pitch or your elevator pitch. And this is just a basic way of how to introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do, and how you add value. And it is very important because, once again, it shows courtesy, it shows that you respect yourself as well as others, and it's also a great segue into building conversations as well. And the other thing is to be a good listener. You want to be a dynamic listener. Listening, paying attention, being observant, and also being able to ask good questions. I really believe that if you're listening attentively, then you're able to ask better questions, questions that are aligned to your objectives and your goals, and that are also interesting towards the person that you're talking to. And the other thing is to speak and be positive. There are so many articles and research and different types of experiments on just being positive, saying positive things, acting in a positive manner. It's very, very important, especially when it comes to networking. And then last but not least, and I think I did mention this, following up. Following up is very critical in networking. And a lot of times working professionals and administrative professionals, entrepreneurs fail to do that. And that to me is the missing link in your networking. Not to say that your networking is done in vain per se, but it does have effects on the progress of building relationships, of showing credibility, being professional, as well as reaching your networking goals. So when you follow up, you just want to follow up in a timely manner. You want to be able to connect properly with that person, whether it is by phone, by email, by LinkedIn, social media, however you feel comfortable or is professional or efficient to making that connection. Not following up can have a lot of consequences, and especially not following up in a timely manner. The person or your potential colleague or client or partner can forget you. It once again shows that you are not quite as professional and polished as you could be. And it can also lapse into a missed opportunity. So you definitely want to keep that in mind as you are meeting people, developing your networks, and building relationships. So as I mentioned, these are practical tips, and I know there are plenty more, but practical tips for networking etiquette: just being prepared, arriving on time, having a firm handshake, making eye contact, making a proper introduction, being a good listener, speaking or being positive, and definitely following up. Okay. So I just wanted to thank you again for allowing me to present this admin chat on networking etiquette. I hope you did enjoy it. My contact information is on the slide. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. And I'm wishing you much success for the rest of the year and beyond, especially when it comes to networking, etiquette, and building your networks. Thanks again, and I hope to see you soon.